Scrum at Scale Framework. So, Scrum at Scale Framework is another way by which you can think of scaling Scrum at organization level. So, Scrum at Scale have basically two cycles. The first cycle is called the Scrum Master cycle, which focuses on how you can think of scaling the Scrum at organization level. So Scrum Master cycle focuses on how part of scaling. The next cycle is the what cycle, which is also called the product owner cycle. In the what cycle, it focuses on what are the important requirements for scaling the Scrum. So these two cycles, they interact at 2 points, which are called the team processes, where you should look into how you can have your team processes defined. And also the second intersection point is the product and release feedback loop. So as a part of product and release feedback loop, you should discuss about how you will have the product increment defined as the Scrum at Scale framework. So in the Scrum master cycle or how cycle, you will always focus on the elements of continuous improvements and how you can remove any kind of impediments if there are. You also focus on the cross-team coordination, how the coordination can be improved. You think of how you can deliver this sprints, and it basically comprises of executive action team. As part of what cycle, you focus on what is the strategic vision of the product. So you start from that perspective. Since this cycle is also called as product owner cycle, so it is a responsibility of the product owner to put the strategic vision in place. Also, the focus is on what backlog prioritization can be managed. So the elements of the product backlog should be looked upon. So which of these can be prioritized and how it can be prioritized. So once the backlog prioritization is looked upon, the next is how the backlog decomposition and refinement can happen. So that's also being looked upon as a part of the product owner cycle. The release planning is an important step as a part of the product backlog cycle. So what are the elements of release planning? How the sprints will move across, which features and functionality will move across, should all be talked and discussed as a part of the release planning strategy. And as we say, as a part of the product owner cycle or the what cycle, it comprises of executive, meta, Scrum team. So in the how cycle, we have an executive action team, and in what cycle, you have executive, meta, Scrum team. And these two cycles, as we talked, intersect at 2 points, which is called the team processes. So which is followed by both the what and how cycle and also the product and release feedback. So when you are doing the release planning, you should always think about how the product increments will be released to the customers. And the common intersection area between these two cycles are called matrices and the overall transparency. So how you can produce the matrices and what are those matrices would be like, and how you can have the transparency enabled between various stakeholders. So this is how the Scrum at Scale framework works, and it helps you to bring the agility of Scrum framework across the organization. So this was given by Jeff Sutherland and Scrum Inc. So they are the owners of Scrum at Scale framework. So there is a Scrum at the Scale framework guide which is available. You can always refer it for more detail. The latest of this guide is 2021 release. You can always go through in detail. So talking about the Scrum at scale, these are the different roles which are there. So you have a role of a Scrum of Scrum teams. So the Scrum of Scrum teams are basically the comprises of all the Scrum teams which are there in in various Scrum sub teams, right? So you should always combine them to represent some total of Scrum teams.